Hey guys, this is my recap for UFC Fight Night 66, Edgar versus Faber. I know it's a couple days after the event now, and it probably isn't going to get too many views, but I just want to get into the habit of doing these recaps. I plan to do them for all of the events this summer. Just recap how my picks played out, and just give you my thoughts on what transpired and what the implications are for these guys going forward. But let's just try to run through this quickly. I'll try to keep it brief. On the Fight Pass preliminary card, flyweight Yao Zakai beat Nolan Tickman. This was a really terrible fight. Very, very boring to watch. I picked Tickman to win. I thought coming off of his decision loss to Signs, which I didn't even see that whole fight, so maybe I was an ill-informed pick, but I thought he'd do better here. And a lot of people thought Tickman won, but I honestly wasn't too invested in this. I wasn't judging it too closely. And Tickman was just circling away. Zakai had a few moments where he landed and came forward. I thought Tickman might have landed more throughout the fight, though, but a really terrible fight. And I just don't care about seeing either of these guys again. And by the way, for the entire event, I think for the picks that I made in my video, for those picks, I think I was 6 for 10. But yeah, Zakai got the decision. And then moving on, another flyweight fight on the Fight Pass prelims. John De Los Reyes submitted Roldan Sangcha-an in the second round. I picked De Los Reyes to win here. And I caught this fight on the Fox Sports 1 prelim broadcast because I didn't want to get up an hour earlier to watch the Fight Pass prelims. But this was really kind of the saving grace, I thought, of the prelim card. The real only barn burner fight. It was action-packed. Great effort by both guys. Sangcha-an really impressed me how much he gritted it out. He was in trouble early. De Los Reyes had an armbar, and it looked like Sangcha-an was close to tapping, got out of that. But Sangcha-an was really tough, and that was a surprising performance, I thought, coming off of his loss to Richie Vasilek, where he lost pretty handily. But De Los Reyes, gutted it out on the feet, and was eventually able to win with his grappling and getting the rear naked choke. I think he said after the fight that he wanted the bonus so he could start training full time. And sometimes when guys say that when they admit that they're only training part time, it kind of makes sense when you look at their performances and reconsider. Another guy that I felt that way about was Roger Narvaez in his last fight against Luke Barnett, where he had him hurt in that last round but couldn't put him away and said he only trains part-time, and it's like, okay, well, that makes sense. But I say that because I feel like De Los Reyes, if he was more seasoned, more polished, could have put him away earlier. But a good win for De Los Reyes, who I thought looked good against Dustin Kimura in his debut, came out and cracked him and tried to follow up but got submitted, and then getting knocked out in his last fight against Horiguchi. He's had a kind of a tough run, but seems to have some talent. An action fighter. I think he can find a place on these Fight Pass and Fight Night cards on the prelims. So nice win for him, and I'll also be paying attention to Sangcha-an's next fight. Next up on the Fox Sports 1 prelim card, it was a catchweight at 137. Ning Guang Yu TKO'd Royston Wee at the end of the second round. Picked Guang Yu here just because Royston Wee got horribly beaten up in his last fight against Yao Zakai, and Zakai got robbed. But Guang Yu looked pretty good here, and I know everyone loves to trash on the tough China guys and a lot of these guys who only fight on the Asian cards, but Guang Yu clearly had more skill in the stand-up, put down Wee in that second round, and Wee just had nothing on the feet. Wee seems to be completely outmatched in the UFC. You saw that in his last fight as well against Zakai. Was able to get a win in his debut against Dave Galera, out wrestling him. But Guang Yu looked pretty good, and I say that relative to the level he's fighting at. And it's always kind of tough to tell, you know, really how these guys stack up against the rest of the competition when they're just fighting, you know, really bottom feeders in the UFC. But nice win for Guang Yu, and I picked him to win that. And then next fight at welterweight, Li Jingliang knocking out Diego Lima in the first round very early, and just looked identical really to Lima's other knockout losses to Eddie Gordon, and also in his last fight against Tim Means. Lima just does not have the chin, doesn't have the defense. He's not able to circle out and get away when guys start to close the distance on him. And at this point, it's expected that Lima's going to get knocked out, and I think he should really hang it up. And it's so disappointing because this was the only guy on Tough 19 who I really got behind, because he was the only guy fighting with vigor and finished both of his fights in the house. I think one of only 2 guys that season to get finishes. But Jingliang really surprised me. His striking looks vastly improved from his debut against David Machad, and then losing pretty soundly in his last fight against Nordine Taleb. Had big power, and then the way he followed up on the ground, vicious ground and pound. So really impressive fight for Jingliang, and I picked Lima to win, so I got this fight wrong. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing his next fight. Next up, at lightweight, Cajun Johnson defeated Zhang Li Peng by unanimous decision. I picked Li Peng to win this fight, and I think that's it. This is it for Zhang Li Peng. I mean, Cajun Johnson didn't really put the hurting on him, but just, kind of effortlessly was able to out-grapple him, out-position him. And Li Peng, he had a takedown, I think, in the second round, but that was about it. Li Peng, it was fun when he beat Brendan O'Reilly and won Tough China. With his grappling, seemed to be a decent grappler for a Chinese fighter, but I think his run is ended here. If he can't beat Cajun Johnson, a guy from Tough who I didn't think looked good, had one submission win, but then got brutally knocked out by Laprise, and also coming off of a brutal knockout loss to Tai Hyun Bang. If he can't do well against him, then I don't really know what else he can do. So I think that's it for Li Peng. And Cajun Johnson, it wasn't fun to watch, really. I mean, another guy who just kind of washed out of Tough, and I don't really think he's going to do anything significant either. So, but Cajun Johnson moving on, and I don't know. I don't think I can take Li Peng again to win. He's on 2-fight losing streak now. Next up at lightweight, John Tuck with a great performance over Tai Hyun Bang. This is I really like seeing this for Tuck. Hopefully he can do better now. Had a tough fight in his last fight against Kevin Lee, where he was dominated, taken down, and outstruck as well. But here his striking looked a lot tighter. You saw a little bit of that power in his fight against Jake Lindsay, but not to the same level as it was here, and also against a much more credentialed opponent. And cracked Bang, put him down, and finished him off with that rear naked choke. So real nice performance by Tuck. And Tai Hyun Bang, knocked out Cajun Johnson's last fight, but didn't look too good here, and I don't really expect much from him. But John Tuck, I do think has the ability to climb the ranks a bit and improve. So a good win for him. And I picked Tuck to win if I didn't say that. But moving on to the main card here, Levon Makashvili getting the split decision over Mark Adiva. That is just preposterous that this was a split decision. I thought Makashvili clearly won every single round, and that was just insane. But I didn't think Makashvili looked great. I think some of the stuff I heard about him, people were overhyping him before this fight. Looked like just an okay wrestler, was able to get enough takedowns to win the decision, and Adiva really couldn't fight him off. So pretty uneventful for the most part, and boring fight. I don't really have anything to say about that, and I'm not too thrilled to see Makashvili again or Adiva. And next up, at featherweight, Felipe Nover getting the split decision over Yui Chul Nam. Chulnam definitely won the third. Nover definitely won the first and second round. Nam came on strong at the end, but I'd have to rewatch it to really say who I thought won the fight. But Nova was looking good early on. Was able to get back control on the feet, and then got some takedowns, but just completely fell apart as the fight went on. And especially that third round, Chulnam came close with the arm triangle choke. I don't care about either of these guys. Seeing them fight again. I didn't make a pick here because I haven't. I don't think I ever saw an over fight before this. I know it was in the UFC, but I just don't care. Both guys look like pretty low level guys. I think Chulnam, showed a little bit more though, coming on strong later in the fight and coming close to a finish. But moving on to a far more significant fight, a really significant fight at welterweight, Neil Magny getting the TKO win over Hyun-Gyu Lim in the second round. This was a really eye-opening performance for Neil Magny. I didn't think that Hyun-Gyu Lim would be the opponent to really get us all really excited and talking about Neil Magny. I thought his win streak, was good, but just didn't have a signature win over against anyone that really mattered. Even in his last fight against Kichi Kunimoto, struggled a bit, was taken down, but eventually got the finish. And his ground and pound, man, it's just really awesome to watch. He's like a technical destroyer, the way he just postures up from full mount, and his punches, they're not like they don't look like Mark Munoz's Donkey Kong strikes or anything, but you just see that they're deadly and is able to put guys away. Hyun-Gyu Lim looked way bigger than him, but was just able to tool him on the ground. Had no problem taking his back and out grappling him. And I love the way that he recovered when Hyun-Gyu Lim had him in trouble on the feet early. I thought that was it for Magny, but recovered very well and then just completely took over and picked him apart on the ground. It was really a beautiful performance. And Hyun-Gyu Lim has had some really vicious knockouts, but again over terrible guys. So, I don't put Magny in the top 10 quite yet. But I'd love to see him fight a guy like Jake Ellenberger. He called out Rick Story, and actually the winner of Eric Silva and Rick Story, I think would be a good opponent. But if Ellenberger beats Stephen Thompson, I think that's a really good next fight for him. He needs to fight an established guy, even if it's a guy on the decline. But this was really kind of eye-opening, and I'm excited about Neil Magny. The ground and pound, you also saw that in his fight against William Macario, but very good on the ground, and did great to recover on the feet. Hyun-Gyu Lim, when he was on the ground and got hurt, was able to snatch up an armbar. Neil Magny got a little lazy, and I thought that was impressive, but didn't go anywhere. So great win for Neil Magny. Looking forward very much to seeing him fight again. And Hyun-Gyu Lim, still a really green guy, and has only had 2 or 3 fights in the UFC. I think he can still, improve and get better. All right, in middleweight, Mark Munoz getting the unanimous decision over Luke Barnett. I'm really happy that Munoz was able to go out this way. I mean, I know it was an emotional thing, he had his post-fight speech, but I don't know. I wish it could have come against a guy who was, a better fighter. Someone who, had a better resume than just, Luke Barnett, who's only a couple years removed from tough and really has not done anything. I mean, I was high on Barnett. Not from what he did in tough, but taking out Andrew Craig in his first fight after tough, and then taking out Mats Nielsen, knocking him out with the head kick. I thought, he was really improving at a high rate. But then he lost the fight to Sean Strickland, but even that fight I thought was kind of close. He didn't lose dominantly. But then against Roger Narvaez, just looked like he had completely regressed. Got dropped with a head kick late in the fight. Never found the mark with his strikes. And same thing here. I picked Barnett to win this fight because Munoz has just looked completely uncompetitive in his last few fights. But based on skills, I was not surprised by what Munoz did here because Barnett just does not use his jab well. I thought in the Mats Nilsson fight he was using it well. Fired off like a triple jab right at the opening bell here, but none of them landed, and that was about it for his jab. And Munoz just was blasting him with overhands and uppercuts from in close, taking him down, pounding him on the ground. It's kind of vintage Munoz. So it's nice that he was able to get the win, but I don't see this, guys like Chris Lytle when he finished Dan Hardy in his last fight. That to me, getting kind of a more significant win in his last fight. This to me just isn't significant because it just isn't significant because Barnett is pretty terrible. And after this fight, if he can't beat an aging Mark Munoz who's just looked terrible in his last couple of fights, I don't think there's anything for him. But good for Munoz to get the win. I got that fight wrong. And then in the co-main event, Mousasi pitching a shutout against Costas Philippou, unanimous decision. Pretty boring fight, but I think it was nice to see Mousasi dominant with the grappling. That's always to me been his big weakness. I remember back in the Keith Jardine fight in Strikeforce where he was just battering him on the feet, but Jardine was able to take him down over and over again and able to win a decision, one that was undeserved, but still did it because of those takedowns. And also against King Mo, I remember years ago, just got taken down over and over again. But Mousasi showing some slick grappling here, had real good top control. Philippou couldn't do anything. Philippou couldn't do anything. It looked very similar to his fight against Francis Carmont. Never got to use his boxing here. I don't know. Philippou, I liked his win over Larkin last time out, but if he's not able to wrestle, he's just not gonna be able to do anything at middleweight. Not against anyone who matters, at least. I mean, Jacare, O Romero, Weidman, these guys would destroy him with the wrestling. So, nice win for Mousasi, and I'm afraid Mousasi, even though he's a very skilled fighter, is only 29, even though he's has a lot of miles on him. I think he can still improve in the next few years. But Mousasi, I'm afraid, is just one of these guys who's really skilled, but just right under that group of contenders that are going to vie for the title, like Romero and Jacare, Rockhold. I don't think Mousasi could beat any of those guys. But, if those guys all cycle through and get their title shots and Mousasi gets some more wins, maybe he can get a title shot one day. But it was a nice performance. He said Bisping was the only one who makes sense. I completely 100% agree with that. I'd love to see him fight Bisping. It really is the only fight that makes sense. And it makes perfect sense for both guys. It would be a signature win for Mousasi if he could get that win over Bisping. And I think Bisping would force Mousasi to fight on the feet. And that's the fight I'm looking for. But nice one for Mousasi. I picked Mousasi there. And then the main event, Edgar getting the unanimous decision over Faber. Every judge giving him every single round, 50-45 across the board. Unfortunately, this was just not a fun fight at all to watch. And I love watching Frankie Edgar. I thought his last performance was incredible over Cub Swanson, especially getting the finish late. Edgar couldn't find the same success with his takedowns, but Faber had no answer for it. And landed a big knee, I think, in the second round, bloodied up Edgar a bit, but Edgar was just able to. He had the more precise striking, was able to land some more punches. Didn't land a whole lot, but landed more than Faber clearly throughout the fight. Did have a moment where he got Faber on the ground and started to work his ground and pound, and I just want to see Edgar come closer to a finish or have a more dominant performance, but. What's sad about this to me is that, after his last fight, I was, on the bandwagon, ready to see Edgar fight for that title. I thought he deserved the shot over McGregor. And after this, not only am I not that excited to see him fight for the title again, just because, if he can't be more dominant against Faber, I mean, I don't see really what he's going to do against Aldo or McGregor. But, the way that he just, struggled a bit on the feet, really didn't land a whole lot. I just think that McGregor now after watching this fight and struggled to get the takedowns as well. I think McGregor and Aldo would give him a whole bunch of problems on the feet. So I don't know. I mean, it's still a really good win. Winning every round against a talented guy like Faber, but we'll see. He might have to fight Mendez in the meantime, which I think would be a super tough fight for Edgar to win. But he stays alive. Still has title hopes, but we'll see how it plays out. And Faber, I've been saying this for his last couple of fights. He had a great year in 2013. Beat 4 or 5 guys. I love the win over Michael McDonald, and then decided to fight Barao on short notice. Got creamed, and it just hasn't come back from that. You saw it immediately in his next fight against Alex Caceres. It gave him trouble on the feet, had trouble landing the takedowns, and his last fight against Francisco Rivera was not looking good early on. One on the eye poke, and here just really had nothing for Edgar. And Faber's saying in the post-fight conference that he needs a fight to get him excited. What did you have right here? You had a cross divisional fight. People were dubbing this a super fight against a former champion. What's going to get him more excited than this? I mean, that to me was really disappointing, but Edgar gets the win, and yeah. All right. Well, that's my recap for UFC Fight Night, Edgar versus Faber. Thank you for watching, guys. I want to do these recaps for all of these events. It's just something I want to do. But I hope you enjoyed it. I'll try to be even more brief with these going forward. But just stay tuned for my predictions and my recaps. And follow me on Twitter. Let's converse there and just talk about fights, have fun, and hopefully live tweet during UFC 187 this weekend and for all the events going forward. But thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. See you guys next time. Bye.